I narrowed down my selection of photographs to about 83, and those are just the ones that I took from 2022 that I thought you would like to see. And then I thought nobody wants to see 83 slides. So I have always in subservience to Orchid, I got it down to 12. Marianne and I took a number of what I call wildflower safaris in the last year, as we have for almost the 5 years preceding. The one I decided to cull my photos and narrow them down by picking only the ones from a particular trip and only from the part of that trip that was thoroughly in the midst of recent terrible wildfire burns. And so we did a 900, starting from Modesto only, we did a 900-mile loop, and that took us about 8 days to do an interesting loop. And for 4 of those days, we were in Napa and Mendocino County. And I didn't fully realize at the time how much time we would be spending in actual burn areas, including the August complex fire from 2020, but also I think the LNU lightning complex fire from 2020. So we were barely 18 months after these wildfires. And sometimes the scenery we were driving through looked exactly like this, where there's nearly nothing coming back and all the pines are just simply dead. But on the way into Napa County, thinking we were heading to a particular place to look for some Mariposa lilies, and that was one of the main quests of our trip, we had to pull over after seeing several massive banks along the roadside of what is a fairly common Clarkia in Northern California, which is red ribbons Clarkia consina, just as dense as I have ever seen Clarkia blooming. And that was just right next to a pullout on, I think it was Highway 128. It was simply amazing. But probably 200 yards from there, as we started looking at other places along the roadside, we found one of the target species we've been hoping to see, which was the golden fairy lantern. You can see the red ribbons blooming in the background. And these guys, which were rare to us because we'd never seen them until this moment, turned out to be fairly common over the next 2 days, and we began to see them everywhere. And it's a wonderful torture to see too many Mariposas. That was the joy of this trip. We were able to get advance permission to visit a private wildflower preserve called the Midsummer Snell Preserve, which is owned by the Napa County Land Trust. And it took a bit of negotiation, but it can be done. And they allowed us to come into this private meadow. They said, well, you know, the peak of bloom here was 3 weeks ago. And I said, well, that's okay. I'm willing to take my chances, because I kind of knew that I didn't want the peak. I wanted the post peak. And we got there, hadn't wandered even 50 yards, and we realized we were in a field of maybe 30 or 40,000 Coast Range Mariposas. The grasses are dry. If you could see a little bit more, you'd see that the trees in the distance had been burned by that recent fire. But these particular Mariposas were just everywhere. And it was, again, it was exactly what we were hoping to stumble into. Not far away, not exactly here, but not even a couple miles away, we ran into a number of places where we saw 2 different kinds of hybridizing of Calochorus lilies, including this lovely natural cross between Calochorus superbus and Calochorus luteus. I think it's Tracy's Clarkia that's blooming in the background there. But this is a Mariposa with characteristics of 2 different kinds of Mariposas, each of which could be found blooming unhybridized, you know, within a few yards of this particular one. And again, that was pretty darn cool too. From there, from Napa, we headed up towards Mendocino Pass, which you wouldn't necessarily know it by looking at the map, but it's a dirt road. It's a long dirt road that climbs way up above almost to 6,000 feet and then branches off onto other Forest Service roads. We had not been looking to see Tolmie's star tulips, but we pulled over every now and then just to see what was blooming, and we realized that there are just hundreds and hundreds, and then eventually we concluded there were thousands and thousands of Calochorus tomii blooming along the road cuts, along the banks, and then we did some wandering through meadows where you had to pick your way to avoid stepping on these Mariposa lilies, and they sometimes would turn up in little clusters like these, and it was, again, it was a wonderful experience. farther up at above Mendocino Pass, we drove a road north for about 5 miles, even worse road, but not too harrowing, and got into a burn area, another burn area from the August complex fire. You can see these are all burned trees in the background. They are not ready to leaf out. They are probably not going to leaf out for years and years, but we were delighted to discover scarlet fritillaries popping up everywhere right along the dirt road. And so again, we made very slow progress as we looked at these. Here's a close-up of the scarlet fritillary, and maybe you can see the first time I saw a photograph of this close-up looking into the bell of the flower, I said, this is on my bucket list. I've just got to see one of these in the wild and see if I can bring home a photo that does it justice. It's just the checkered pattern is just drop dead gorgeous. Same area, well, maybe about 7 miles away, we wandered into not really a marsh, but a wet area near one of the lakes, and found an old record of Purdy's fritillary on Calflora that we followed up, and it was a wonderful record to find, because we found probably 200 of these plants blooming in one particular area. It's just an amazing fritillary. We were chasing mostly Mariposa lilies, but we also knew that anytime you can see a fritillary, it's a good day. It's a good reason to stop. And so we were delighted to find this. I think this was the third of 5 different fritillaries that we found in the area of Mendocino Pass. The fourth one, oh, wrong button, got it, was Fritillaria glauca, Siskiyou mission bells, which is much more purely yellow, but far from blooming in a marsh. This particular species just loves dry, rocky areas, as you can kind of see from the context there. Just the habitats could not be any more different, but that was yet another one. And I'm going to end with this photo, which is not really a flower at all. It's just habitat. This is a photograph taken at an hour of the morning when the husband of a 2-person team will be up making coffee, delivering it to the wife of the 2-person team, who then takes this photo from the rooftop tent that we use for these explorations. You can see that there are traces of the August complex burn there, but you can also see there's nobody else around in the area for miles and miles. And ironically, Marianne actually found a yellow Fritillaria glauca about 100 yards from where our campsite was there. So it was just a great climax for that particular part of the trip. Thank you.
Wow, so that was great. And now we're gonna have William Hallstrom come up. Thanks, William. So you want to push through?
Yeah. Oops,
Went too far.
sorry.
That's okay. Let's see if we can go back.
Here,
Okay, there we go.
here. Good evening, everybody. My name is William Hallstrom. I think this is my first in-person meeting with everybody here. So hi. So this is a little bit different than why is the thing showing? Oh, I don't know. So I'm sure everybody kind of knows what this is. I kind of like to take pictures often of more common native plants and see if I can find something interesting about them. I picked this image because, you know, I find it's kind of hard to capture both the botanically interesting aspects of plants, especially the flowers, and at the same time show the structure, especially for our California native plants, because often their features are so small and yet their structures are larger. But, you know, I kind of feel like this photo tries to capture some of that stuff all together with the flowers in bloom and kind of the leaf shape there. Here's one of our fiddlenecks. Does anybody know the species of this? I think it's just a common one, but and this was just in the Arroyo Seco. And I was just like hiking around and saw this and kind of in the fading evening light and with the backlit nature of it and the shadows in the background, I think it kind of captures the structure of the plant and those really interesting little fibrous hairs that are on the stems there. And then the Phacelia, the desert, remind me, my botanical brain is slipping right now. Canterbury bells, yeah. With a little bee there. I'm not, I think I tried to ID that one and couldn't figure it out, but
It's Phacelia minor.
Phacelia minor, right? Thank you.
Sorry. Let me see if I can go back. Trying to see if I can get out of that. No, I can't.
Oh. And this was just up on the Mount Wilson Trail out of Sierra Madre, just past First Water, on the little meandering trail that goes, not the main trail, but the one that goes down and then back up. So yeah, really into looking at Dodder this year. And this is actually, yeah, this is here in Eaton Canyon. There was a really fantastic showing of does it pronounce Cuscuda? Yeah, like all over here in Eaton Canyon. I saw it in the foothills of San Gabriel's, and just such interesting stuff. I started going a little bit down that rabbit hole this year, and yeah, lots of I guess there's kind of interesting research that people are doing into what's happening with Dodder. But these little fibrous filaments that are almost I don't know, like neurological networks, they kind of look like, and just beautiful, I think. The ethereal Dodder. Yeah, most of the photos, actually all the other photos that I did for the show are in the San Gabriel's. This one, has everybody ever been to Red Rocks in Topanga? Yeah, I just discovered that. I guess everybody has a Red Rocks. And I guess this is just the kind of the thing that I'm trying to do, especially is just sort of capture plants in their native habitat. And this kind of says something to me about our coastal plants. I'm not sure which monkey flower this is in particular. Longiflorus, yeah, probably. And just coming right out, I mean, almost looks like it's growing right out of the rocks, and then kind of the marine layer kind of coming in there that it says to me kind of speaks a little bit about, this is Malibu. Scarlet, I thought this was Larkspur, yeah. And this was from Santa Fe Dam area. Beautiful flowers that were blooming midsummer. And I think a few people got to see these when we did the field trip out there. Yeah. And I think this was a turning the corner flower for me. I mean, people talk about our Humboldt lily as being looking like a tropical flower or something that doesn't even belong here. And I would have thought the same thing, a handful of years ago. And just to in my, the dry, dusty, foothills of my backyard, in the middle of summer when it hasn't rained at all, to suddenly see this amazing ornamental, like beautiful thing just popping out of the hillside is like, wow, yeah. And then, you know, I'm just like hiking around and looking for like the like shafts of light with the nice dark background there. And yeah, like this is the kind of thing that, I mean, you know, not uncommon, but still like, wow, that's happening in my backyard and that's California. So yeah, that's my 7 or so images there. Thank you.
Please let us. Okay. So the recording does not show, by the way, the controls. And let me see if I can, hold on, if I can hide them. There we go. There we go. Okay, and I think Donna might be on our Zoom call. So Donna, if you are there, you could unmute yourself and talk about your picture. Is
Oh,
everybody monitoring? Yes?
yeah. I only sent one. Unfortunately, there's a dog next door barking.
Okay,
I have no control over that. But I don't see the actual image yet. But, you know, one of the really spectacular flowers that we see around, and of course they have translated into people's gardens, is the Matilla poppy. And I painted this last year, trying to get that kind of dancy way they are and everything. I actually, at one point in time, before I knew what I wanted to do when I grew up, I wanted to be a botanist. I actually have a degree in that, but I've gone on to other things. So
it certainly is a beautiful picture, and I think it really does capture that dancing in the wind thing very well.
thank you. And it's a watercolor, which is what I mostly do, is watercolors. And I don't just do native plants and everything, but when something is really as striking as that, you can't help it.
Right? Yes. So I'm just going to repeat that for our audience who didn't hear that. She said she wanted to become a botanist, and you did become a botanist. But
I got a degree, but I never had a job as a botanist.
she got this degree, but she never had a job as a botanist.
Yeah.
And and she doesn't just paint native plants, but she just couldn't resist this plant. Well, that's wonderful, Donna. Thank you for sharing your art with us today.
Thank you.
You are the only artist in our show.
Really?
Yeah.
I would have thought there were more of us, but you know.
I think if it were a bigger thing in the space, we might have, but it didn't happen this time. So so thank you. It's a really beautiful piece.
Just the left corner.
Exactly.
Okay. So a few sages from the yard, shameless plug for our upcoming plant sale. Right? And the selection was based upon available photos that I had. Okay. So on the upper left, there's a Cleveland sage. Lower right, we've got the purple sage and a little bit of black sage down over here.
Sorry. I run my computer in Dvorak, so I never want anyone to touch the keyboard. What do you think will happen when that happens?
So all these sages are low water use, so they're pretty suitable for our environment, and they're all based on a local species. although they can get pretty large, sometimes 6 or 8 feet across and maybe 6 or 7 feet high when they're happy. And they're not just nice to look at, but they can attract quite a bit of wildlife as well. Okay, so we got a bumblebee over on the left, skipper butterfly on the right. And again, just a few examples of some of the things that like to visit these. Native bee over on the left. Hummingbirds really love these. And when it's seed time, there'll be a variety of things that will come to visit the seeds and things that are eating the seeds. So here we've got some bush tits. The goldfinches love these seeds as well. So many birds will show up to glean the plants in addition to visiting the flowers. Okay, so purple sage about the same size as the Cleveland sage, but a little bit different color, but also very attractive to a lot of the wildlife, including bumblebees and some of these which are sensitive species. So it's really nice to have extra habitat for them in place of a lawn. So hummingbirds, butterflies, many different things get attracted to the sages to visit them. Okay, and the last one I'll show you is white sage. This one is a little bit more lanky than the Cleveland and purple sages, but also can attract a variety of other insects. Okay, and finally, some sage advice from my mom. Okay. And advertisement here for S&S seed mix. So.
That is awesome. Okay, things are gonna make a noise. Okay, yeah, if people weren't watching last year, Terry did 12 slides of everything that eats Leia. And yeah. Karen is still not here. Okay, I'm gonna narrate for Karen, so I'm just gonna make it up as I go along. No, Karen, Karen's pictures are amazing. She captures some beautiful, beautiful wildlife photos, as you will see, along with her flower photos. So scale broom, but she didn't tell us the butterflies, so we're looking at you, Terry, and Mickey. What's that? Okay, and where is my pen? Somebody's gonna tell me later, right? And okay, marine blue on the lepidus bug, and then the pearly everlasting, and which I didn't know it had changed its name again. So that's stressing me out slightly, but okay, never mind. We love that plant. It's hard to keep gardeners, even native friendly gardeners, from weeding this one out. So see, she's getting my commentary on top of her show. A western sycamore with a yellow warbler. And yeah, I love that bird. And then another bush tit. So it might be bush tit day here on Coast Live Oak. A lot of these were taken in the canyon, by the way. Scale broom with a tarantula hawk. She's braver than I am. And spotted towhee with a coffee berry. I know, it's like, because I think of that as a bird bug. I mean, a bug bird, right? But apparently. Should have made you narrate these slides. And for those of you who missed that in the room, Cliff said you have to have your morning coffee. Sugar bush, and is this also a marine blue? Yeah. Haha, I learned something from slide to slide. And then Mickey. This one goes forward.
right there.
Yeah, and if you need to, that one goes back.
Okay.
Well, I can't help but notice that a lot of people have the same problem I do, is trying to get a picture of a flower without an insect or a bird getting in the way. So several of the people in the room joined me on a couple trips to Devil's Punch Bowl this year, where we had yet another fire, the Bobcat fire of last year? 2020. I get my fires confused now. But the place was absolutely blooming gorgeously. I've been going out there since the 1970s and have not seen it as good as it was this year. That was that broom rape, or, oh, the most important thing was that the name changed on us. We had to get used to this Aphthalon Franciscanum, which is a double change from the old days. So, but a fellow in Northern California assures us that's what this is. This was just a natural bouquet. I don't think we could do much better if we, florist shop. This is just the way this was growing. I don't know why the Phacelia at the outside would form a ring like that around the Chamasonia campestris in the middle, but it was quite unique. McLean's were along on this trip. There's just a close-up of the two species forming the bouquet. And over at Santa Fe Dam, where I go quite often, looking for insects and, oh yeah, flowers too, plants and insects, interrelationships. And we're getting used to this poor Valley Cholla has gone through 3 name changes in my lifetime at least. And so now it's Cylindropuntia bernardina, not Californica anymore. And this fly was quite unique looking, so I had to get a shot of that. And I was able to get the genus down on it, and I have the species too. That's help from some fly people. And then I ran into a cholla, and we said hello. And this was in Tahunga Wash, the same cholla. Yeah, it hurt. And when you pull on them, they don't come out. So I got my comb out real quick and got the comb under there and pulled. I think of myself as fairly careful, but this plant got me. I was on a trip with Terry, June of 21, San Bernardino Mountains. It was a wonderful day. We spent most of the day up cruising the backcountry of the San Bernardinos. Terry knew his way. And this really nice Salvia dorii was on a cliffside on our way out. And another one of these big Pepsis wasps or tarantula hawks. And this was up just a month ago or so at Santa Ynez River near Solvang. These wasps really love the scale broom, and most people know they lay their eggs on tarantulas. They sting them first, then lay their egg on them, drag them into a tunnel, and they do the egg after that. And the larva feeds on the tarantula. So there's a couple species around, and I'm slowly learning how to tell several of them apart. A trip also in July, right up to the Presidio, wonderful 3-day visit to this Crissy Marsh and Presidio of San Francisco, one of the oldest establishments in California. Looking very modern now, but Dudleya farinosa, I didn't know which this was at the time, but I was able to get it pinned down. Wonderful thing about the internet, of course, you can just say plants of wherever you were, and boom, somebody's done a plant list, an illustrated plant list, and makes it pretty easy. Finally, we're back here in Temple City to my front yard. Boy, I really like the mulch look, but this was Bermuda grass up until December of 2021, when I did cardboard. Some of you brought me some cardboard. I gathered up cardboard from everyone I could, and we laid down the cardboard, then layers of compost, and then mulch, and had all these plantings done, about 101 plants, I believe it was. with a bioswale. And then just a few months later, March of 22, it already began to look very nice, got good blooms going on. I think you find if we throw poppies everywhere, you can't go wrong. They bloom for quite a while and give you that gold color. But it's now grown into where I'm gonna have to start trimming around shrubs if I'm gonna maintain any kind of a break look between plants. So it really happens quite fast.
All right, let's set on a couple of trips this summer. That one,
No, we are
No?
here to go forward.
that one,
No, the left one.
okay.
And you can use this one to go backwards.
Well, hopefully I don't need to do that. So in, ooh, it's not as sharp as I was hoping on the big screen because I was hoping to have help. This is from Mono Lake in July by the road, and I can't ID it. It has a really white sail and very, very dense. So Lepidus, yeah. Lepidus, could it be that? I found something called Lupinus lepidus or something, but they always say it's supposed to grow in a moist environment, and this was really dry side of the road in the rocky place. So if you don't know, you can think about that. Well, I'm going to think about it. This is tumbleweed. It's always a fun to see the little blossom, I think. And I know it's not really native, but it's been here so long, so it will consider it acclimated to our flora. Then we went up to Tioga Pass. I took a class, botany class, even though, you know, just a chance to get up with local people from the Mono Lake committee. They have classes in geology and botany and all kind of stuff like that. So we went up to something called, let me see if I get the name right. Carnegie Institute of Experimental Station is about nearly 10,000 feet. Really fun place. Big meadow. So here's the Ranger's Button, which has, of course, many names, different names. It's also used to be called, I think, Angelica Capitulatum. I forgot some TA there. Capitulatum, supposed to be right. And this is an elephant head, pedicularis. Same place. That is also not quite sharp. And gentian, Sierra. I could have spent the whole week there, but just there one day. Mountain Pride at Penstemon, Newberry. This is also, like Mickey, down at the Punch Bowl. It was just amazing to take photographs with the flowers, but then I got this one where you can see the burnt area behind it. So here you have some chia, gilia, camisonia, popcorn flowers, burnt flannel bushes, and some pine trees too. This is also the Punch Bowl, one of the little lupins, my favorite. Consinus, kind of a furry little thing with tiny, tiny flowers. On the way up was on the side of the road, Linanthus, Paris Linanthus. Huge, huge flowers. They look like they come straight out of the ground like that. And here's Gabby's hand. Going to the Buckhorn Trail, we ran into a lot of fun flowers, and a couple of them were still one buckwheat I haven't identified. This one was really fun. First, you think that it is ranunculus because the flowers are very shiny, that shiny yellow that a lot of buttercups have. But then when you look at the leaves, they're of course the wrong color and they are alternate opposite. So it's a little Hypericum, tiny little one called Tinker's Penny. I like that. And I can't get enough of Castilia, little purple ounce flower. This is just in Palmdale. So all over, and also the Goldfield. The perfect day. Thank you.
And Michelle is not here, still not here. Keep calling these people's names, and they are late. Okay, joke, tiny joke, it's a jokelet. So I was on this trip, I think, to the Santa Fe Dam, and it was a great day for prickly pear. So, and I love the kind of the rose color and the yellow color all together. And I'm sure the bees were sleeping in it the next day. And Roger. So here's our forward.
Okay, great.
The left
Thanks.
one, and here's our backward. Again,
Okay.
the left.
Okay, so I've narrowed down my native plant pictures from this year for to a dozen. This one was from January. I live in Shadow Hills. The Fond Land Preservation Foundation has purchased a bunch of acreage between the 210 freeway, Sunland Boulevard, and Latuna Canyon. And I had not known that laurel sumac had this corkscrew grain pattern. So I saw it on this branch. The original plant burned in the Latuna fire in 2017. And this just, so what you see there is the leaves are the new growth that has come up since then. And this branch is then the old one that's the old skeleton of the plant. And we actually had a fire just here just yesterday, and I have not been up here to see how far up the canyon the fire went, but it's literally this canyon to the left of this picture that burned again. Also in Shadow Hills, in January, we have several populations in different places of California peony. And I am fortunate to have a friend who tipped me off that, hey, it's time, they're blooming, go see them here. And I was able to catch some nice images there. Also nearby, some Phacelia and the fiddleneck. And one of the other people this evening had some pictures of plants with the flowers backlit. And that's one of my favorite techniques too, of getting the lighting, the sun coming from behind the flowers. So you see the fuzz, you know, the hairs on the stems, and just it does lots of nice things for the plants, for the pictures. And this is one of my favorite pictures. Also on this Fond Park, this is at the top of where I go mountain biking, and just the wishbone bush on this top of the hill, south and west facing, just hot, dry, exposed areas, and these wishbone bush is a little perennial, and it's beautiful in January and February, and then it kind of goes to seed and dries up. And right now, I was there a few days ago, nothing there, not a trace of it. Also in the same area, the chaparral bush mallow, as well as the deerweed, which you can see yellow behind it, are both fire followers. So these are plants that have grown up since the Latuna fire in 2017. And I think this is exactly the area that burned yesterday again. So 5 years is not long enough for the chaparral to recover. So this is probably this area is probably type converting to weeds because there's just not enough time to recover. Hopefully I'm wrong, but that's kind of the pattern. Again, one of the other people earlier this evening had a picture of Dodder. I felt like Dodder doesn't get enough love. Evidently, I'm not the only one that feels that way. This is again in that same general area. Plant called pine bush, and the Dodder just happened to be growing on it.
This is in the Little Tahunga watershed, actually Pacoima watershed, Mendenhall Ridge Road, up in the western part of the San Gabriel Mountains, north of Lakeview Terrace, east of Silmar, and a little bit south of Santa Clarita. And just some really pretty wildflowers. This area burned, I believe, in the Creek Fire in, I want to say 2016? No, I think it was before that. Anyway. So recent, but not quite so recent burn. This is in Yerba Buena Ridge, which is the border between Big Tahunga and Little Tahunga watershed, just north of Sunland and Lakeview Terrace. These Chaparral Yucca, I've seen an occasional one that's got a crooked stem, but to see these three of them all together, I of course just had to take a picture. And then further up that same ridge, I saw a bunch of bush lupins and a bunch of the woolly blue curls. And the color is not quite coming out on this screen. I don't know how it is elsewhere, but this one particular plant was just a really, really nice, rich, vibrant purple. Quite often there's either kind of pale or light blue, and this one's just had a lot of red in it, really nice purple. And I thought this is a really beautiful plant. Further across the ridge on that same outing, the Gold Canyon Trail, which descends into Big Tahunga Canyon near Trail Canyon. This trail had just been opened after having a friend of mine worked several months, like better part of a year, on restoring that trail. And she finally got everything, the signage installed and everything ready to open up. And I took a ride down it and enjoyed the wildflowers. This picture, there's a lot wrong with it, but I just love this foothill poppy. It's not the California poppy that we're all familiar with that we grow in our yards. It's a sibling species, and I just love it. I love it when I see it in the local trails. And further down that hill, Coulter's snapdragon. I have only seen this a couple of places, and when I see it, I typically see it in a kind of onesie-twosie fashion. So there's not, there's just one here, one there. To see a whole population of these was just mind-blowing. Which is interesting because this area last burned in the station fire, which is 2009, and this is 2022, so this is 13 years afterwards. It kind of, you scratch your head going, why are there so many of them right here? Whatever, they're beautiful. I don't think so. I mean, the rest of the things around there don't look like they burned that recently. There is, in this section of the hillside, it's not real stable, and there are places that have slid, and so it could be that additional disturbance that has been post-fire. But anyway, I thought this was very interesting. And my last picture is from a backpacking trip that I took last month in the Golden Trout Wilderness, which is the southern Sierra Nevada mountains. And this little baby white fir was just too cute. I hope it manages to grow around or through the rock that it's on, but it was just, so enjoy.
So William, be sure to introduce yourself to Roger. So, and yeah, I have endless pictures actually of rocks, of trees growing through rocks. So I feel good about this tree. And Graham, are you going to narrate? I just have one photo for you.
Well, Orchid, I owe you an apology. I do apologize because I left this photo up there, uploaded on the website as a test, and I forgot to remove it. So I don't even know what this is.
Oh, well, you labeled it, so you'll find out.
Oh, did I? Do
Yes,
I
you
hit
did.
the right
So we're
hand?
gonna go here for the
Left-hand
go
button.
forward. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I'll do. Oh, wait, wrong left-hand button, sorry.
Oh, yeah, Beaches Blazing Star, yes. This, I believe, was a photo. This is a photo we took. I saw that last year, I believe, when Mary and I went up to Chileo and walked up to Mount Hulia. And I think that's where I saw it. I've also seen it elsewhere west of there as well,
Oh,
but years ago.
Mhm.
But yes, it's a little tiny flower, only sort of 3/4 inch across or something like that.
Wow.
But anyway, it's a lovely little thing. So that's all I have there.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, Grandma's cracking me up now. We can, okay, so we have Gabi, and then I will narrate for David Goldstein. So. And, yeah. So your left-hand button here is forward. And this is the reverse. There you go.
Which one? This one?
The left-hand one.
This one. Okay. So normally, I like to show flowers close up and the beauty, but this year I was so impressed with the outings we took to the snowmelt gullies because, you know, we have been in a drought and we don't expect to see a lot of flowers that grow in wet areas, especially not in, you know, on the north side of the mountains where it's with a desert influence, pretty dry. But these snowmelt gullies, this is how they look from Highway 2, Angeles Crest Highway. You don't see much except the lay of the land. And basically every canyon as the water goes down, I get a creek out of it. And when it rains. So when it snows, the snow collects there. So we are now in end of July, and you find a lot of flowers, plants that grow well, that need moisture and grow well there. So these pictures were all taken on one day. These snowmelt gullies are off the Highway 2 on the north side of the St. Gabriel Mountains between Islip Saddle and Whitewood. So what we see here is just the abundance and proliferation of some flowers that we normally don't see often because, you know, they need water and we don't have much water. It's just a bunch of colors, and you have to look closer what is there. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 4 different species here. The most prominent is the lemon lily that you see here, Lilium perryi. And this is a picture taken away from the creek, going up the embankment. And there you see in the middle, the corn lily. And the botanical name, I have to read it, and you can't see it here. I don't know, Veratrum californica. Okay, I hope that's right. And then the shrubs next to it are hard to tell what they are. They could be holodiscus, ocean spray or something like that. And it's a jumble. That's what it looks like. But then when you go closer up, then you see that you have the Western Columbine there on the right. And on the left, you see just, a jumble of green and dots of color in between. On the left side is a native orchid, and the Western Columbine on the right. Then the yellow flowers that you've seen on the first picture are sneezeweed, and I really don't like that name. They're beautiful flowers, and they don't make you sneeze. So they're certainly not a weed, and they don't make you sneeze. So it's just the wrong name for it. So if you want to use the botanical name instead, you would say it's Helenium bigelovi. And this flower, most of you know that in the garden, California fuchsia. There are two subspecies. The one you get in the garden with a narrow gray leaves. And this one grows usually in little higher elevation and needs a little bit more water. It has those broader, hairy, darker green leaves. Just gorgeous. And it's the only place that I know reliably that we can find this bog orchid. It has different names. I've learned it as white flowering bog orchid, but a naturalist calls it the Sierra bog orchid. And I like the white flowering better because you can see it's white, and there is another species that has green flowers, so it tells me right away which one it is. And we are not the Sierras, but it does grow here and it's native here. So, and the botanical name is something. Platanthera dilatada variety leucostachys. If you ever want to know. I'm good with white flowering bog orchid. And then here is a lot of the red that you saw in that first picture is the giant paintbrush, giant red paintbrush, and with the hummingbird. And the reason why they're called giant is because they do get like 4 or 5 feet tall. So they're very, very attractive, not only to us, but obviously also to some wildlife. And here's another wildlife. Our previous photographers have focused on insects. I was lucky enough to catch a mountain chickadee on a Jeffrey pine. And of course, a monarch, but not on a milkweed, but on a bog orchid. They didn't read the book that they're supposed to go on the milkweed. And this is really how it looks like. You see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bog orchids, a bunch of in the foreground, and a bunch of giant red paint brushes. And then you see the creek and some rocks. And you can barely find a place to put your foot without standing on some flowers or some greenery.
Okay, so I am trying to get David, I'm trying to pressure David to chat me, but he's not doing it. So I'll just make it up. There's just 4 photos, and they are garden photos. Like I was there. That's funny. Okay, so our first photo is one of my favorite plants, actually, Solanum heinzianum. I'm trying to convince Bruce that he needs that in his front planter. I've not won this fight, but not that it's a fight, it's not my planter. But interestingly, Solanum Douglasii did come up there. So I've been eating the berries. Don't do that. Don't eat anything I would eat. You could. And then in the same theme, we have Datura wrightii, and so another plant in the Solanaceae. And so it looks like it's going to be a nice garden. And then we have an Abutilon palmeri, and one thing I love about this plant is that it blooms all the time. And it's starting to become like a plant that's used in the parking lots and in commercial plantings. And I feel like that's a good place for it, is commercial plantings, because it will survive almost anything. And then our last plant is a plant that I have a great fondness for, also the Atriplex canescens saltbush. So that's an important plant for wildlife and habitat. And then we have and then I think thanks for coming.
That was wonderful. Thank you.
And then I am going to read really quickly a few of our excellent chats that we have, just because some of you, we're supposed to ask you not to use your the Wi-Fi while you were here, so that we could be stable. But Helen Wong said she loves daughter too. That was to William. So we have the daughter loving set here. Then David Goldstein just loved John Thompson's fire damage, and Fritillary said
That was
wonderful set.
gorgeous. This is Margot. Thank you, everybody. You're gorgeous and talented.
And who's that, Margot?
Margot, thank you, everybody. You're so wonderful, talented, and interesting and funny. It's just like being out there in nature, but it's just so, thank you so much. It's a blessing to have you sharing all that with us so much. Thank you.
Was everybody able to hear that? She said you all are so wonderful and talented, and it's wonderful to see everyone getting out into nature. And so it obviously is making, I think this is uplifting for people. And Helen had a great thing to say about each and every person, which I'm not going to read them all. Except I'll read the one about Margot said about Terry's mom, such a lovely person. May her memory be a blessing and an inspiration to us all. And then, but Helen did say that that Mickey's photo was the funniest one. And Christopher Nair just said, let's see more drawings from Donna Barnes next time. And so that's the end of the chat for everyone. And thank you for coming. And it's so great to see you in person.